Hey there folks, it's Belgrade Beat on the streets of, not Belgrade, I'm actually in Kiev, Ukraine right now. And I'm sharing this to Belgrade Beat because I thought you guys would probably be interested in my impressions of the Ukrainian capital, Kiev. A couple things, I haven't been here in 7 years. So 7 years ago I came here for the second time, I think it was. And I'm back. Since I've been here 7 years ago, there's been like a revolution, war, all that stuff, tensions with Russia, and lots of political changes. They're going more the Western direction or something like that. You know, so it's in some way the whole struggle has changed the place, and I can notice that because before it seemed, I don't know, like the society had more of a direction. But to compare this to Belgrade, I would say that this makes Belgrade look like a really Western place and a really vibrant, like Germany compared to this, because this is a country that still is maybe where Belgrade was 10 years ago and still doesn't really have a direction, whereas I feel like Belgrade is slowly finding its direction, and more every year it starts to look, you know, like a vibrant place that you know, the world will envy soon. Definitely here you have a lot more of this communist hangover vibes in terms of the customer service, which is something I noticed got a lot better in Belgrade over the last few years. People started taking more pride in the way that they do their work, especially in the restaurants and cafes, and people started being friendlier and all that stuff. Yeah, here you still have that sort of like you know, you are ordering something at a restaurant and the people give you that look, why should I serve you? Well, it's because it's your job, basically. This is what me coming from Canada, I think about that. But yeah. And the interesting thing to note about Ukraine is that this is pretty much a pure Slavic society with no other noticeable influences. It's just Slavic all the time, everywhere. Slavic, Cyrillic, Ukrainian and Russian language. Mostly Russian is what they speak here, even though it's Ukraine and there's like a big push to use the Ukrainian language more. But yeah, I mean, in contrast to Belgrade, you have all these interesting... Belgrade is a, you know, melting pot of culture, in my opinion. I know some of the Serbian nationalists who follow this channel would disagree about that Serbian culture is somehow mixed or somehow a combination of multiple influences, but it is. And you really notice that here, especially, you know, the Southern European influence is lacking here. You know, the Italian and even Turkish influences are not noticeable here, as are not the orderly Germanic influence that you have it in Belgrade. You might have forgotten that, you know, German culture and the Austro-Hungarian Empire played a huge part in making Serbia what it is today, especially the systems of organization, you know, the way the society tends to work. Anyways, I'm walking through this neighborhood right now called Podil, something like that. And it's actually the oldest part of the city. And just like Belgrade, you have this sort of like, you know, crumbling facades, old buildings that just reek of history. But I would say the vibe on the streets is not as modernized as Dorchel or Vracha or something like that. It somehow feels like it did there 10 years ago. So yeah, I'm enjoying my time here, and it's also interesting for me because I'm actually 1/4 of my family. My mother's father's family came from here, specifically around this city, and so I didn't grow up with their culture at all. I grew up with my father's family's culture, they're from Slovakia and ethnic Germans, right? So, but there's this deep thing, this weird unconscious connection I feel to this place and the people and the sort of moodiness of it, the sort of depressiveness of the culture really resonates with something inside of me, and I'm not really sure that I like it because I've always had this sort of moody, depressive Slavic thing about me, and this is the place that I've been, which seems to bring it out the most, you know. More like a constant depression, whereas I feel Serbia brings out this sort of manic depression where things get really crazy and happy and then people are kind of depressed, but there's like a different feeling This is a pure Slavic feeling of a nation and city that have been through a lot of history and stuff, and it just doesn't have as much. I don't know. I'm glad I live in Belgrade and not here, honestly. Well, this is interesting and nice and cheap as hell. I chose Belgrade because there was really something special in this city and all the different... In Belgrade, there's really something special, and I still feel that every time I go back. Like there's this spirit of humanity that comes together in Belgrade. Sort of history of the world sort of stuff, and there's one city in the world like that. Whereas like here, yeah, lots of history, but I prefer Belgrade, thanks very much. So yeah, that's it. Eric moved from Kiev. Here's a beautiful square with churches and the hills and everything. Can't wait to get back to Belgrade next week though. My city, my place where I've learned how to be comfortable, learned how to be myself, and thank you to everybody who's helped make this channel Belgrade Beat a success. Thanks a lot, guys. Bye now.